start in March after some pre-season testing, but 2020 went differently. We had pre-season testing and then nothing. We don't know when we're going to start, but that's enough about 2020, especially for this episode, because we're going to move on to the next season of normality, which of course is 2021. The one where the curtain will fall at some point, hopefully. Pre-season, cars roll out then pre-season, I should say. And then we start in March, the normal season, the 71st year of Formula One. And again, being 70 years, I guess some people want to try and get rid of the 70 years of this year because rubbish. So anyway, let's move on to 2021. Obviously, as I say, the normal season, where we should get normal racing going ahead. And obviously, we're going to be predicting where people are going to be in the teams. So, of course, most of the teams some of the teams, I should say, have been confirmed. Of course, we'll be seeing those in the episode. And again, just giving our reasons why we kind of are glad they're there. So we'll make a note of them. And then, of course, some drivers have contracts that are coming to an end. There's vacant seats, obviously, some are around. So it's going to be really exciting. Where's going to people be going? But as I said there, we should have been, at time of recording, around, what race are we now? Obviously, of course, Monaco tomorrow. So we should be into the season and getting a feel of where drivers are, how the car's getting on and things like that. And of course, we haven't seen that. So it's very much now a bit of a guess. And of course, going off 2019 results. So let's dive into it. Let's go from the team that finished in last place last year, of course, probably the same this year, rolled out with a bit of a toothpastey looking car this year, and that, of course, is Williams. So let's talk about their 2021 drivers. Jordan, of course, George Russell and Nicholas Latifi lined up this season. Nicholas's first year, but of course, he hasn't actually been in the car yet. I think he's only done 8 days. Well, that's it. His Formula 1 career is 8 days long.
It is.
Who have you got signed for Williams in 2021?
My drivers I've got down is Nicholas Latifi and Valtteri Bottas.
Wow. I have Nicholas Latifi and no change, George Russell.
Ooh, good one. Now, Williams for me was the hardest to predict because it's probably going to give in a way where I think George Russell is going to be going. Which, to be fair, I'm 100% not the only one who's also predicted this. I think Dan from F1 Reviews, he did his predictions and he said the same thing as me. So it's not really a surprise or anything like that. So obviously Nicholas Latifi, yes, he hasn't started his F1 career. Like Lyle said, it's 8 days old. I can guarantee he will be there. He brings in a lot of money. Williams need that kind of money, so I'm expecting no change from that side of things. Now, the one you're probably interested to hear about is Valtteri Bottas. So I'll explain why a little bit later on why I think he'll be leaving Mercedes, but in my opinion, in my head, I think he will. Now, there are rumours as to where he's going to be going. There's a big rumour that he's going to be going to Renault. Apparently, the Renault executives have had talks with his team about filling the vacant seat left by Daniel Ricciardo, which I wouldn't rule that one out neither. And that was the hardest thing about where to pinpoint drivers. It was very difficult to pinpoint other drivers, and it will kind of fall into place who I think will be at that Renault seat and various other seats along the way. The reason why I think Bottas might go back to Williams, this is probably, to be fair, this is this seat prediction, this one for the Williams seat, is the least confident I am in this one. But the reason why I believe this is, of course, you probably know where I'm sending George Russell. Now, if he does decide to go to Mercedes, then, or anywhere else for that matter, depending on where you think he might go, then who's going to fill in that vacancy at Williams? You look at the driver academy of Jack Aitken, Dan Ticktum, Jamie Chadwick, Roy Misery. I think there's another one in there, I believe. I'm not too sure. But there's some young drivers in there who I don't think will break through. Jamie Chadwick, I don't think she's got enough super license points. Same with Misery, or however you spell his name, I don't know, say his name. Ticktum, I think he does, or he's close to. Jack Aitken, I believe, does have enough super license points. I'm not too sure. But if F2 gets underway, then maybe one of those drivers could get the required points, which is 40, by the way, in case you didn't know. And you get 40 points if you finish first or second in Formula 2, which all of them drivers are, apart from Chadwick, who was in W Series, which you get 15 points if you win that series. But Williams need a driver who's, first of all, consistent, quick, and experienced. The two drivers that they've got in right now, Russell and Latifi, Russell's quick, he's very good, we know this. Latifi, not so much. He's just there for the money. That's not a surprise to us. I think going forward, Williams need an experienced driver. Bottas did drive for Williams the first time around. Of course, it was a better Williams then than what it is now. And if he does decide to leave Mercedes, Toto Wolff is his manager, and he will be looking for a seat on the grid for Valtteri Bottas. Williams, I don't think will be pushing, threatening any of the top midfield, but maybe, just maybe, judged by the signs of their 2020 pre-season, the car looked a bit more reliable, it looked a bit more pacey, it looked better, of course. So maybe they could push up the grid, and Bottas could reluctantly just sit around in the midfield just for a little bit. Again, this is why I'm very low on this one, but I had to put someone in there, and this is my logical solution. So a driver like Bottas, he's quick, he's experienced, good feedback for the team going forward. Feedback in terms of for Russell and Latifi, it won't be as good. They're one's just quick and one's just there for the cash. So maybe that could help, but like I said, I really don't know about the Williams one. This is just a complete, unconfident guess about this one, which is it could happen, but I don't know. But the reason why he's here is because there's another seat that he's linked with, which I just said, which I'm more confident that one driver will be there over Valtteri Bottas, but wait and see who I think for that one. Lyle, you're saying that Williams will be staying with the same driver lineup. Why do you think that's it? Why do you think that is?
Well, firstly, again, so people that I knew, very much like our predictions to who will win the title and stuff like that, we don't know what each other's going to say. But if any of the teams are the same, I think one thing will be coming a lot, which is that, we haven't had a 2020, and even when we do have a 2020 at some point, it still won't be enough to kind of, give them a good shot. I mean, as I say, Nicholas Latifi, he should have had, 6-7 races or whatever it is, up to Monaco now, and he hasn't had that. Mm-hmm. I think we'll be saying that a lot for the drivers who are in the teams, and kind of like, they haven't had a fair shot, give them another go. Unless you Helmut Marko, and that he doesn't like to give drivers shots. Daniel Kvyat, 4 races into 2016, he was out the door. I know he'd had 2015, but he was out the door. In 4 races in 2016, it wasn't fair. Anyway, so my drivers for Williams, as I say, very much the same. And like what I just said there, they haven't had any of a 2020. George Russell, strong last year, of course. I want to say just quickly there, and no clues about who won't be leaving Mercedes, but as I say, George Russell is a Mercedes junior driver. Toto Wolff's his manager. He will be going to Mercedes one day. I just don't feel like it will be this time, mainly because I don't think he's ready. He's very close to being ready. He's got the door open, one hand on the door, but he's not ready to go through it yet. And of course, the second thing is, and I don't want to give any clues away, but it's linked with the driver Jordan said, who is leaving Mercedes, is not going to be leaving Mercedes. I think he's good enough, but obviously no spills until we get to Mercedes. Nicholas Latifi, I mean, again, you're right, Jordan, of course he's there for the money, but Williams aren't going to suddenly rocket, how'd you get that, rocket?
I like it.
Up to the front. Yeah, thank you. They're not going to rocket in terms of the money. Of course, that's why Latifi's there. Of course it is. Of course, that's why he'll be in Formula 1 like Lance Stroll. But like Lance Stroll, like we've talked about a lot, he possibly is there for, being a good driver. Again, I just don't think we can judge him. And that's also, at the moment, he could be a good driver. I think we should just give him another season. And also, I couldn't find another driver who I wanted to be in that Williams seat alongside him. I mean, cannot think of anybody else. I guess you could stretch and, I don't know, Fernando Alonso. There's always rumours, but as I say, I couldn't think of anyone, to get into those seats. And of course, as Jordan said, the other drivers I could do, I just couldn't think of anyone. Of course, Jack Aitken, our guy that we met in Silverstone, I guess you could have said him. I think he was probably kind of the highest driver on my list, other than the two that I've said, but I couldn't see anyone else. I've got to say George and Latifi, and obviously just one last thing as well, of course Latifi brings money, very much like why Kubica was there, but it didn't mean that Kubica was only limited to bringing money, because we saw that he was a good driver, of course not as good as Russell, but better than money, so he beat his third teammate, if you like, which was of course money. So the next team we're going to be talking about is of course Haas, the American team who finished in 9th place. It looked like a strong lineup, 2 drivers of Kevin Magnussen and Roman Grosjean. They of course were signed for 2020. Grosjean's been at the team for a very long time, and also you could say Kevin Magnussen has, of course, since been at the team since 2017, had run-ins. Of course, if you've ever seen Netflix's Drive to Survive, you'll know that them and Gunter have run-ins left, right and centre. So my 2 drivers for Haas are going to be Kevin Magnussen and Robert Schwartzman.
Ooh. My drivers that I think will be at Haas is Kevin Magnussen, and I think they'll stick with this guy as well, Romain Grosjean.
Wow, so with 1 point each, we both stuck in one of the teams that have come up. So, my reasons why, let's start with Robert Schwartzman. Just think he needs a new shot. I mean, he's very good at Formula 2, Ferrari driver. Of course, they'll want him in Formula 1. I think they'll want to get him through the ranks. Again, in terms of the Formula 2 drives, I couldn't see anybody from F2, coming through the grid, especially this early on in Formula 1. Again, the Formula 2 drivers haven't even started their season, and of course they're maybe a little bit less than Formula 1. They'll want to get F1 started before they get F2 started. I think they'll want to get him in, but more so that is he might be looked at as a little bit of a seat filler, not 100% as a great driver, a little bit of a seat filler, just because I feel like that man that he's replacing, Romain Grosjean, he's done his time in Formula 1 now. And I know that, of course, he's achieved a lot more than Nico Hülkenberg, but he's been in Formula 1 almost as long as he has. Actually, if you think of it, because he had a year out, but actually he was in the first decade of the 2010s, the first decade of the 21st century, sorry. So actually, he's been in as long as Nico Hülkenberg. Of course, he's achieved more podiums and things like that, but I think he's ran his course. And of course, being at the American team, he's been there since 2016. Amazing job holding down the fort. Had two good teammates, Esteban Gutierrez and of course Kevin Magnussen. But I think his time's up now. I think his time is up, and I think it's ready for someone else to come through. Young guns in Formula 2, and I think it's Robert Schwartzman. Kevin Magnussen, I think this has been building for me, about a year. It's been about a year in the making. Me kind of getting right, I've had more of an appreciation for Kevin Magnussen, I think, as it goes on. I think looking back at his McLaren days, I don't know what we were doing, but I think we were talking about McLaren, and I think it was the what-if scenario for Mercedes, and I was looking at K-Mag at McLaren in 2014, and I was like, he actually did a good job there, and I think a lot of his career has been good. The Renault's iffy, but McLaren, he was good there, and of course his last few seasons at Haas have been good. Better than Romain Grosjean, and obviously a bit more faith. It looks like Gunter Steiner has a little bit more faith in K-Mag, is like he's the man to excel the team forward. So for those reasons, I'm going to say that Kevin Magnussen will stay and Robert Schwartzman will come up to replace Romain Grosjean. So Jordan, we're staying put with Grosjean and Magnussen, Gunter Steiner's favourite two people in the whole wide world. Give us your thoughts of why Haas will not change. Obviously, the last time they changed was when Magnussen replaced Gutierrez back in 2016 for the 17 season. Since then, it's stayed exactly the same, and we're on for another season of those two drivers. So, tell us why.
Again, this one was quite difficult to who do I see in Haas in 2021? Now, K-Mag, I think, will be there for another season. He's the quicker out of the two. It's clear to see that. He's consistent. Haas did have a very, very poor 2019. We all know that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we were looking for a better 2020. But judging by testing, it didn't look that way. And yeah, K-Mag has been with the team for now, since 2017. Now he's part of the fixtures essentially. He's the driver that can grab the points essentially. When it does matter. But bringing in Romain Grosjean as well. That I'm surprised he is still here. I thought he was gone in 2019. I was adamant Hülkenberg was going to get that seat, and I wasn't the only one on that. So seeing Grosjean but still be there, I was very surprised, and I was like, is this the right choice? And one of the key things as to why Haas kind of not regained form, but kind of slowly started to churn out some little results, was because of Grosjean's feedback with the car. And that was critical as to how Haas really pulled it from what was going to be an absolutely awful season to it was a bad season altogether, but kind of pulled it back together. Grosjean saying, go back to the first spec car, don't upgrade the car, just go backwards. And it did prove a bit better, but it was still it was too little too late essentially to save the team and kind of push them up in the constructors. And that will be kind of key for Haas possibly entering the new age of Formula 1 in 2022. There's the chassis freeze for 21. Again, do Haas want to change their drivers for that? Maybe wait until 2022. Again, I was so close, honestly, I was so close to say Robert Schwartzman as well. I had his name, I typed his name out, and I was thinking, He hasn't done Formula 2 yet. He's a good driver, we know this, but how good is he? Because we've seen drivers do well in like Formula 3 and then crumble under the pressure in Formula 2. I don't think Schwartzman will be that, but we don't know that yet. He brings Bakken of SMP, which is critical. Haas aren't short of a few bob or two, but they have kind of said the whole "we might leave" kind of phrase, and Haas aren't the only team who've lost money because of the pandemic. Money might help the team, but are they going to risk kind of try and go forward where, you know, by employing a driver who's done one season in Formula 2 and bringing in money? Do Haas want to be that team? You know, or keep a guy like Grosjean for another year, play it safe, not kind of, muck about with wages or whatever, and just keep it consistent going into 2022. Maybe stable the ship and maybe see how the situation is come the end of the season if it does get underway. But like I said, I'm not as confident with this one, but I'm more confident in this than I was with the Williams one, like I say. But like I said, I was very close to saying Robert Schwartzman. I was very close, but I just changed my mind last minute. That could be wrong of me to say that. I'm a big fan of Schwartzman, but I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe I'll put him in somewhere else. You have to wait and see for that one. So yeah, that's what I've gone with for those two for Haas. Anyways, so moving on to Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo. My two drivers I've got for this one is Antonio Giovinazzi and Mick Schumacher.
Oh, samesies. That's exactly what I've got, of course.
Oh, he's gone with the same.
Yep, I've got Schumacher and Gio for mine, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I had Giovinazzi down for the Ferrari drive for 2021. I was pretty much adamant that was going to happen. Of course, that wasn't the case. Ferrari kind of said that it was too early, which I was like, yeah, all right, I see your point now. Yeah, fair enough. I just thought they were going to go with a blatant number 2 driver. Went with Sainz. Yeah, that's over with. Fair enough. Giovinazzi will remain there. He's in the waiting in case maybe Sainz doesn't do well, or maybe Leclerc decides to run off and go somewhere else. Very unlikely, but hey, this is Formula 1. Anything could happen. And put Giovinazzi in there as like a quick seat filler, I don't know. Or he may never get the drive, who knows? I'm not saying he will. It's just to put him on standby and just keep him in there. And of course, he is kind of part of Ferrari, so he'll be like, well, put him in that seat. He's, let him develop and push the car forward. And yeah, Giovinazzi, he doesn't really strike me as a brilliant driver. I mean, he's all right, but like I said, he's just meh. I've said that quite a bit about certain drivers, but yeah, I think he'll remain there for another year. The other seat. Now, I've said this every single bleeding year. Kimi Räikkönen has to retire at the end of 2020. I know people love him, and yes, he's funny, and it's Kimi, and he's going to miss him when he's gone. But he's not going to be around forever. He's 40 years old, for crying out loud. Come on, Kimi. Please, give that seat to a young driver. Let's forget about the oldies. Alonso's rumored to be in Formula 1. Get in the bin, please. Let's forget about it. Kimi's had his time. He's not going to win a championship. Is he good for the team? Yes. He's a good driver. Of course he is. But just, please, Kimi, give us some of that seat. Now, like I said earlier, I'm a big fan of Schwartzman. I want him in Formula 1. But I just can't see how he can get that drive over Mick Schumacher. Now, is Mick better than Schwartzman? In my opinion, no. I think Schwartzman is the better driver. However, Mick is a good driver, all right? He's not terrible, all right? Now, his name alone is big in Formula 1. It's Schumacher. At the time of recording, the biggest, most successful driver of all time, and wins and championships. Hamilton is closing in on that. But, that name will forever be synonymous with Formula 1. It's Schumacher. When you say Schumacher, you go Formula 1. His son is going to have, he got a lot of attention in Formula 2. How is he going to be doing? Is he going to cope with the pressure? He won Euro Formula 3, in the second half of the season, essentially. And that was really good. It got him to Prima for Formula 2. And he's going to get a lot of media attention, which is going to be good for sponsors. And at this time of need of money, who else to better employ than Mick Schumacher? Again, you could go with Robert Schwartzman on that one and maybe bring some SMP money. But maybe, just maybe, more sponsors could, be just as good as bringing some SMP money, which, yeah, who knows? And I think Mick as well, like I said, how's he going to be doing? Will he be doing good? And like I said, a lot of media attention will be on Mick Schumacher if he does go in Alfa Romeo. But like I said, it could go either way between Schwartzman or Mick Schumacher. I want Schwartzman in that seat, but I just can't say how he will beat Mick Schumacher unless Mick Schumacher has an absolutely horrific, and I mean horrific, Formula 2 season. And Schwartzman goes on and wins the championship. I think Schwartzman is eligible for a super license, so he's more than perfect to go in the seat. Mick, I think Mick is. I'm not too sure on that. We might not be. I don't know. But by the time Formula 2 is finished, yeah, he should be in that. He should be eligible for a Formula 1 drive. So Lyle, you've gone with the same as me. What's your reasons behind this? Similar to me or somewhere completely different?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, very much similar. I think that Alfa Romeo is a better chance for Mick. Haas are, of course, the Ferrari engine, but they're not a Ferrari team. Sorry, they're not an Italian team. They don't have any Italian blood in them, and really, the Ferrari engine is only secondary compared to, of course, the big brash of Americanism and things like that. Alfa Romeo are an Italian team. He has an Italian teammate. We saw, for example, and I said this to you before, when Antonio Giovinazzi came to Monza back in 2019, of course, it was all about Charles Leclerc, and it was all about Sebastian Vettel, and it was all about Scuderia Ferrari, but actually, kind of after those two guys, you could say the third main guy at the top, and even maybe scratching Sebastian Vettel, was Gio. He was absolutely loved because, of course, he's Italian, and also the support for Alfa Romeo, again, they're an Italian team, but of course they took over Sauber, which of course are based in Switzerland, I think it is. So you could say kind of a Swiss team, they just have Italian relations. But they were absolutely loved, and I think that's when, again, I got more of an appreciation for Alfa Romeo and Gio himself. Mick Schumacher, of course, great guy, and as Jordan said, of course, amazing, name, and he's going to get loads of attention. I'm not going to go over old ground, like you said. I just think it's an amazing fit. Of course, Kimi Räikkönen, people love him. I've got to say, he is a real diamond in the rough. He really, really is. You said he was about 40, Jordan, of course, like Tom Brady, for example, he's over 40 now, still playing. But I guess he's better than Kimi, 6 rings to 1 World Championship. But still, he was good there. He served his purpose. Kimi Räikkönen. I think he will always be remembered for, having a good season with season with Alfa Romeo. I'm putting him very, very high up. I'd say even, I know it sounds really weird for my sake, because he won a World Championship with Ferrari, he came back and won with Lotus Renault, obviously in Abu Dhabi and then Australia, and then he went 115 races and then won again in Austin for Ferrari. But I'm like, he did well with Ferrari both times, but I think he's done amazing going at Alfa Romeo. I really, really do. And for me, Kimi's kind of high up in my kind of love chest. That sounded really weird, because he went to Alfa Romeo for 2 seasons. Obviously, this being the second season. So yeah, of course, it's his time to go. And Gio, of course, man who I'm not saying he should have been considered for the Ferrari drive. Of course, we'll get on to that very soon. But as we know, of course, Carlos Sainz has been selected, but he's of course going to possibly be in a Ferrari seat. We all say George Russell's going to be a Mercedes driver. You can almost say, I would probably say on par with George Russell, that Gio has as much chance as driving for Ferrari as George Russell does for Mercedes, and maybe that'll be the future. Maybe that'll be the new Hamilton and Vettel, Russell v Gio. But I think that's a good pairing, Jordan, and I'm very, very happy for us there. So, moving on to Team 7, which is Aston Martin. Well, Racing Point. And of course, Lawrence Stroll, the owner of Racing Point, bought Aston Martin. So they will move from sponsorship from Red Bull Racing and, of course, revert into a team for 2021. The Racing Green, hopefully back in Formula 1, and it's Aston Martin. And hopefully, it won't trip people up, because we still say Force India. And yeah, hopefully we won't. hopefully nobody, and especially David Croft, will not say, "Oh look, and there goes Racing Point." No, he won't go. Here's in Force India, no Racing Point, no Aston Martin. And then by that time, he said all of that jargon. The car's like in Sector 2, and he was saying that in Sector 1. Hopefully, it doesn't trip people up. But anyway, we'll have to see. So. Of course, Sergio Perez, has been signed by the team. I think it's till 2023. Of course, that was when Racing Point, but he'll still be with the team when they've changed to Aston Martin. I've got to say, I think Checo is probably very excited about this, Jordan, before we say it, because this is like a very new, a brand new team, isn't it? They're going to change colours from pink to grey, hopefully. They're going to change names. They're not changing engines, of course, still staying with Mercedes, but I think it's exciting. It's a new team. It's a very much like Jaguar to Red Bull kind of thing. I bet he's really, really excited. So, of course, as I said, that Checo is going to be in one of those seats. Second man alongside him, Jordan, I'm going to go with no change, and I'm going to say the Canadian driver of Lance Stroll.
Yeah, well, for Aston Martin, I'm going to say the exact same as you. How boring is this? How boring is this? I've gone with Sergio Perez, and I've also gone with Lance Stroll.
So Lance Stroll, very similar to Latifi, even though we have discussed him, and of course he's been in F1 longer. Just he's doing a good job. Of course, I mean, of course, his dad's there. You know, nepotism, giving money, whatever you want to call it. But he is a good driver, and the thing is, he deserves that seat. And then again, also like I said with Williams, I can't think of anyone else to actually replace him. And now, of course, like Haas, there was a lot of rumours last year, especially involving a certain Nico H. But where was he going to go? And I think there was a kind of a very brief moment where that was mentioned, you know, again, and then it also fell under the is Stroll worth it kind of category. But I think he's worth it. I think he's good. You know, he has good chemistry with Checo. Of course, he has good. You know, he worked well in the team. He knows a team. I mean, nobody knows a team. Nobody knows a team better than Lance Stroll does. You know, especially when his dad owns a team. And I think he's good enough. And also as well, I don't think they could bring anyone in. And at the racing point, I remember watching. So again, obviously with Esteban Ocon, you know, I've been watching a little bit more of him. You know, kind of decoding a little bit more of his career. The second time round in Formula One, when he was at Racing Point, him and Checo, obviously, of course, they didn't get on because they collided and things, and there wasn't a good team balance. But I think now, when you look at Checo and Lance, of course, very different people. You know, they both got America in the way of the countries, you know, Canada and Mexico. You know, different ages as well. And if Checo was more experienced in the Formula One, of course, you know, he's been through McLaren and Sauber and things like that. You know, podiums. He could have possibly won a race as well. I guess you could say that actually Lance nearly did, didn't he, in Baku a few years ago. So they're different drivers, but they're quite similar. And as I said there, you know, they've got good team chemistry. And like I said there with, you know, Checo Perez, this is a brand new team, or mostly a brand new team, you know, new name, new livery, you know, a lot will change. A lot more than you think will change in this name change. It's not like Force India to Racing Point, which again, that did bring on change, but I feel like this is going to be a bigger change. I don't know where, apart from, of course, it going from pink to green, and of course the name changing, but I think it will bring on a bigger change. And yeah, I think that they're really good in a team together, Jordan. So that is my reasons, of course. Checo already signed. Very happy with that. But I would have signed him anyways. If he wasn't signed, I would have signed him anyways. And of course, Lance Stroll, Jordan. So yeah, why do you think the 18-year-old? And just before we say, of course, we've discussed Lance Stroll a lot, haven't we? About, you know, is he good? Is he underrated? Is he overrated? We've had our views. But of course, you've now spoken. Why do you think he should be signed for 2021 alongside Checo Perez in a pretty much a brand new team, Aston Martin?
Well, Sergio Perez is contracted until 2022, which obviously is no guarantee, but for a driver like Perez, there's nowhere else where he could really go. So really, he's kind of been cemented in the works of Aston Martin going forward, and it's a very exciting project. You know, the backing of Lawrence Stroll and his money going into the team, Aston Martin getting an actual car manufacturing name into the team, and you know, Lawrence Stroll taken from the team from on the brink of administration to Aston Martin. And there's talk of a new factory, there's talk of new equipment, and the future sounds so exciting. And this could be the next big team in Formula One in the next 2 to 3 years. And let's see how they, you know, work in the sense of the new 2022 car regulations. So Sergio Perez, he's been there since 2014 now, when they were Force India, then into Racing Point, and then going to be in Aston Martin. So really, he's been with 3 teams, and he hasn't moved anywhere, has he? So how weird is that? He's moved in the same factory, the same people, the same house. Maybe, I don't know, but so Perez is a really quality driver. He's a high quality driver. Very, very unlucky not to do well at McLaren. Not his fault, McLaren's fault. He went to Force India, and he set the world alight. And there, he's shown how good of a driver he was. Constantly beat Hulkenberg at times, and just led the team forward into the new age, and had a bit of rivalry with Esteban Ocon. They were the days. They were the good old days. And now, his new teammate in Lance Stroll. So Perez he deserves this opportunity to show his, well, first of all, his talent, which we know he has, a chance at possibly podiums, maybe race wins and pole positions, which is something he doesn't have yet, a pole position. And just, he's getting on a bit now. He's in his 30s. Maybe the World Championship is a bit out of his grasp, but there's still a chance there for race wins and pole positions and many more things to come. And essentially work like a Mark Webber in a way. Webber was with Jaguar, Williams. He was always in the midfield. Then he was at Red Bull at the right time. got them into the new age of when they changed the regs in '09. Won races, nearly won a championship. Bowed out of Formula One a few years later. And Perez could work in the same way. Always in the midfield. Then went to Aston Martin came in. And then, could propel him to maybe, 5 or 6 race wins and then see his days out towards the end of, bring someone else in. Lance Stroll, now, we all joke on and say, Lance Stroll is going to be there forever because his dad owns the team and stuff like that. But there are talks that Lance Stroll's future is not certain. He's got to perform, which is something that we've all we've all said, that he needs to deliver, he needs to get results, and this is a critical time for the team, because if one driver's doing well and the other one isn't, and let's say that team loses out to 5th place because of that, that's like, a $10-15 million difference. I don't know that exact, but you know what I mean? It's a big chunk of money they could be losing out on because their number 2 driver or the other driver isn't doing very well. So if Stroll's not performing up to where he needs to be, then he's going to have to go. It doesn't matter whether his dad owns the team or not. I can't see anybody else coming into that team. I mean, there is talk of Alonso and Vettel. I don't see it. Vettel maybe, but again, I don't think. I just think he's. I'll get on to Vettel in a little bit. And Stroll, he's going to be there for 2020. Will he do well? I think he'll remain there regardless anyway, and just see in 2021 and see how he does with a really competitive car, if it is going to be competitive, and see where we go from there. Then maybe if he doesn't perform well in 2020 and 2021, then I think we could be seeing the end of Lance Stroll. Maybe he could go to another team. I don't know. His dad could help him to go to back to Williams or another category of motorsport. Let's see how he does. But no, I think Perez and Stroll, cementing it into the team. Why change now? Yeah, I think they'll be fine going forward. So next up, we've got Alfa Tauri, which are yet to race under that name, which is a bit, and that livery as well, very nice livery. Really want to see it on the racetrack. It's proper nice.
It is.
I'm gonna have to be boring again, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna go with Daniel Kvyat and Pierre Gasly. They're gonna remain with the team for 2021.
Yeah, I'm gonna be boring as well. Oh man, I'll get on to my reasons in a little bit, even though reasons re-signed. I just can't think of anyone else, Jordan. I mean, it was that your reasoning, or why? Yeah, why them two? Why are they back at the team? And obviously, just before you say that as well, we saw it in Catalonia for 8 days. But I mean, yeah, as Jordan said there, absolutely lovely.
Yeah,
it will be great to see them on track. Throughout this season when we get a season in the future. But yeah, absolutely loved it. And again, very much like Force India as well. Sorry, I said it. Racing Point, again, changing teams. It's not an actual team change, but in terms of the livery and the name, it was. And of course, if anything, if DC and the fashion show has anything to say about it, it's a brand new result. So anyway, yes, John, sorry, about getting astray. Gasly and Fiat.
Yeah. Just, I'm not going to go on much about this because, there's been a couple of drivers that are remaining the same.
Yeah.
And my next one is a big one that I want to explain. So really, I can't see anyone replacing these two. I really can't. Who have they got in the ranks? Yuri Vips in Super Formula. Does he have enough super license points? I don't think he does. Who have they got in the junior program in Formula 2? Tsunoda and Deruvala. Again, I don't think any of them will be close or getting any points, super license points. They could do if they win the championship, but do Red Bull want to throw in another young driver who's really unproven into the ranks, into the program or into Formula 1? I don't think so. I think they want to give them a year or two in Formula 2. If I had to put my money on anyone to get the seat next, it would be Yuri Vips. He's a talent. He's a good driver. Pierre Gasly went to Super Formula. He came to Formula 1. So did Stoffel Van Dorn as well for McLaren in 2018. So 2017, sorry. So just because he's going to Super Formula doesn't mean to say that's his F1 career over. I think Yuri Vips does stand a good chance, but it depends if Super Formula gets underway. We don't know that, and he might do a couple of races. That won't be enough to prove himself to Helmut Marko, the hardest man to please for that matter. But no, like I said, I don't think there's any reason to change these two. Gasly or Kvyat, I don't think they'll get promoted to Red Bull. I don't think they'll be demoted yet. However, 2022 could be a very interesting year. So come back in a year's time and we'll discuss this when we talk about our 2022 driver lineup. Lyle, yeah, you got the same as me. I'm gathering it's just the same as what I've said. You can't see anyone filling in those seats.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Red Bull Racing have I would say they paid off the debt to Danny Kvyat. Demotion and then kicked out of the team, brought him back. They've paid off the dues. And also, he is a good driver. But Pierre Gasly, the main one, he was demoted from Red Bull in 2019. And, this should have been his first full season with AlphaTauri, again, brand new team. I think that... John, I'm going to stop myself there. There's not much to say about them. And also as well, it is a new team. It's AlphaTauri, replacing Toro Rosso. I'm excited about this chance. But again, as you just said there, like people like Jean-Eric Vergne and Jamie Agashwari and people like that, and of course Carlos Sainz being the big one. It looks like these two drivers, even though they have been to Red Bull, it looks like they're not going back. And of course, those drivers that I've just said there, Jev Agashwari, Sainz, they didn't go on to Red Bull. And of course, Sainz blown it up. We'll get on to him in a bit. They could still as well. Probably not Red Bull in the future though, but you never know. And again, I don't think they're going to get demoted easily in the future, but I think they've got a good chance of doing a good drive at AlphaTauri. And also just one last thing as well. When Toro Rosso were around, the problem is that in the old V8 days, they were glued to Red Bull like mad, and they just spat out drivers left, right and centre to them. Of course, main one Sebastian Vettel, then it was Daniel Ricciardo, then Daniel Kvyat, and then it became a chance where, people like, the FIA, and again also people like Dieter Mateschitz and Helmut Marko, and people who ran Toro Rosso as well, Franz Tost, turned around and thought, why are we glued to Red Bull like this? Our livery is very similar to them, and they wanted to kind of break apart a little bit, and that's where we saw the 2018 kind of, the jazzy blue, the chrome blue kind of look, they had Red Bull Cola on the car, but they were separating for Red Bull just a little bit. And again, even though they have Red Bull clothesline, of course AlphaTauri, that's where it comes from, and they're still racing under Red Bullish colours, of course, and that probably won't change because, of course, it is owned by Red Bull Racing. It's very similar to like owning, if a guy owns two different things, he'll have the same sponsorship on. But they are trying to separate from Red Bull, and I think if we're looking at two drivers who don't have anything now to do with Red Bull Racing, I think they could have a good season. You know what I mean? Just like think of them as an entirely independent team, and I think you've got something going there. So like if Gasly, if he now forgets, especially for 2021, if he forgets that he ever was in that Red Bull car, it'll be hard, mind. But obviously, you've got your fellow Russian to ask, who knows all too well about it. But if you completely forget that you were in that Red Bull and forget about what happened about getting kicked out for Alexander Albon, I think you could have a good season as an independent team. But so yeah, those two drivers for next year, it should be a good one. I'm excited to see what they can do. Obviously, especially just make it an independent team for them. So let's move on now to 5th place. Renault. Now, Jordan, I feel like this is a team we're both very excited to talk about. So I'm going to kick it off with, of course, Esteban Ocon. No change there. The Frenchman will be heading up the French team. Second driver, I'm excited about this one. Fernando Alonso.
Oh, he thinks Alonso's going to Renault. My drivers, I think will be Esteban Ocon as well. And Nico Hülkenberg.
Oh.
I think will be in that seat.
The man I said in our previous video, I said actually that he possibly has a chance to go to Renault. But I think a lot of things have changed in that time, Jordan. A lot of things have changed in that time. I mean in terms of me, I don't mean in terms of like politics and that, even though Fernando has said that he would be open to returning. He raced in that team, of course, not once but twice. 2 separate intervals. Very different, mind. Remember the 05-06, of course, the World Championship, left to McLaren in a little bit of a disgrace as well. And again, not just saying him, but the team. But obviously, again, he was a little bit tarnished back then. And then went to Renault. And of course, that's when we had the IEG Renault kind of look, Fabio Briatore. And of course, Crashgate and things like that, left on badish terms. And again, not saying 100% Alonso, it was also the team. Flavio got kicked out. Obviously, Nelson got kicked out. The team was fined, and that ultimately left for them leaving for a few years, becoming an engine manufacturer to Red Bull, and obviously now then returning into F1 a few years later. But with that being said, and obviously Flavio Briatore came out and said Alonso belongs in Formula 1, but who doesn't belong in Formula 1, Flavio? You're not allowed. Get out. So he has no say. It's a bit like Bernie Ecclestone saying, I think Vettel should win the World Championship. Oh, great, Bernie, but you're not in Formula 1, are you? So Alonso going back to Renault, of course, would bury the hatchet a little bit. It would hopefully cement a lot of things, but I'm not 100% thinking of the olden days. Like, let's bring back the olden days. Because, again, like Fernando, we all know about when he went back to McLaren 2015, the McLaren 2015, Honda, or let's go back, bury the hatchet. And obviously, the Honda engine, bring on the new nostalgia. So I'm not going to say that completely. It would be nice for Renault to have him. Also, as well, I know people are, divided against him. I don't think he's one of the best drivers. I know he's good, but I don't think he's one of the best that we've seen. Good effort at McLaren the second time around, good effort at Ferrari, even good effort at Renault, even in your World Championship days, but never great. I think he'll just be hot news. I think as soon as Fernando puts pen to paper and says, like, I'm available, I'm a free agent or whatever, I'm available in F1, a lot of teams will be after him because he will bring money. And he definitely will bring exposure because people do like to see what Fernando was up to. The man who, of course, went to Le Mans, the man who went to IndyCar to see what was going on. I mean, again, using that Monaco Grand Prix 2017 as an example, people watched the Monaco Grand Prix and loved JB in that car. But a lot of Formula One fans watched the Indianapolis 500 race and that McLaren Andretti and wanted Fernando to win. But of course, that didn't happen. So for that reason, Jordan, mainly just for exposure, I think it will be Fernando Alonso. And of course, Ocon, just heading up a French team. I think he belongs here again. Like I think I said it last year. When we were doing our predictions, then I said Ocon. Just belongs in the team. He's a French driver. He has worked with the team before. I think he's found a new beginning. Again, trying to forget kind of the racing point days. Like for example when he fought with Max. Mm-hmm. So I think that those two are going to be a good addition to the team. Fernando will be a good addition. Obviously, Ocon heading up the team because again, Ricciardo wasn't the right man to especially also to play second fiddle to. I don't think Ocon was a second fiddle kind of guy. So Ocon is driver 1, Fernando is driver 2, but if this happens, Fernando needs to accept that he's a little bit like a Kimi Raikkonen. His days are behind him, it's not a sunset drive, but you are here to help the team, not to go hell for leather and win everything for yourself. Because as I've just said that, Jordan, Esteban Ocon is number 1 driver. Fernando would not want that. So as long as Fernando can kind of adopt a Kimi-esque thinking, I think that could work. So that is my reasons for Alonso. Obviously, I said Nico Hülkenberg in the last episode. Good fit, but 10 years without a podium. It's getting hot in here. So, why Nico and why Ocon?
Well, obviously Ocon, he's contracted there. I believe he's contracted there for till next season. He's one of the guarantees, if you like.
Oh, okay.
One of a few. So and yeah, I don't see any reason why to move him. He is a good driver. He will do well at Renault, even if Renault aren't up to the pace. Yeah, I think Ocon will be there anyway. Hülkenberg, again, this was a very difficult one because I was going Bottas or Hülkenberg. I think at least one of them will be in that seat. I just don't know who. I say I don't know. By my predictions, it's Bottas going to Williams and Hülkenberg going to Renault. But if Bottas does go to Renault, then yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at that. Renault are a far better team than Williams, of course. But the reason why I'm saying Hülkenberg is because Hülkenberg, he's been out for Formula One for a year, which is a long time in Formula One. Asked Ocon for that matter. If there is anyone that they could kind of put in that seat, it would have been one of their young drivers, Zhou or Lundgaard, one of those two. But I don't think it's the right time to do so, especially with what's going on. And I think Lundgaard I know definitely does have enough super license points. Zhou doesn't yet, again until he completes Formula 2. But I just think that it's just not the right time to put one in at the moment. And like I said, trying to get another driver settled in and sorted, and during this transitional period as well, is just, I just think it's the wrong time to do so. And again, we don't know when Formula 2 is going to get started, so we'll have to wait and see. But they want a driver who knows the team inside out. Just a quick seat filler for now. Does he want that? Again, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. He could reject this and go, I don't want to be a seat filler. I want to be guaranteed at a team. And you might say no, and Bottas will get that seat, in my opinion. But Hülkenberg, he's been nowhere since he left Formula 1. He's been linked with nowhere. There's been no rumours, there's been nothing. I mean, there was little rumours when he announced, when we knew he wasn't going to be there, but it just went very quiet. Even before the pandemic, there was nothing spoken about where Hülkenberg was going to go, which I'm thinking, is he waiting for something to happen? Does he know what's coming? Does he thinking, I've a little, fly in the wall situation. Someone's told me that Ricciardo's looking for a way out. Maybe I could go in there, have a season, and then maybe go off to another team. Or if Mercedes decide to call upon Ocon to go to Mercedes, should Hamilton leave, bear with me on that one, then keep Hulkenberg and put in a young driver. But for now, I think Hulkenberg come back in. He will want to be in Formula One. Give Renault another chance. He won't take long to get settled in, and off you go. Then you sort of essentially you've got one all right driver and one well experienced driver. But again, it could go either way. It's either going to be Bottas or Hulkenberg. I've just kind of spiced up a bit, I guess, just say someone different essentially. Alonso to Renault. I can't say it. I really can't say it. I've spoke about this in F1 24/7. That Jens Button was saying that he can't say why Alonso would want to go to Renault. Renault aren't at the front of the grid. When Alonso was rumoured to be coming into Formula One, coming back, he said he wanted to be with the top team, so that then therefore arose the links with Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes. But Renault aren't a top team, and he's 30, coming up to 39-year-old in July, I think it is. And does he want to be sitting around for 3 or 4 years at a midfield team? No, he wants to win.
Well,
so let's come back.
I think that's why he needs to adopt a Raikkonen kind of thinking. But as I say, also like what you said about, I think it was Williams. You said someone that you had very little hope about. I think I have less hope about this. I'm just like, I think it would be interesting, but in my mind, I think he has to. I agree with you, John, completely, but I think he has to adopt kind of Kimi Raikkonen-esque thinking, and also just the fact of I'm back in F1. Because again, very much I haven't heard much about Fernando Alonso. He's going to do IndyCar and he's going to do this and he's going to do that. I haven't heard much about him. But being in Formula One enough, for to drive for Renault, and of course he could possibly turn it around if he wanted to. We know that he wants to do it, like when he did at McLaren, for example. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, but we will have to wait and see. So this could go either way. Like I said, in my opinion, I think it's either going to be Bottas or Hulkenberg. I just couldn't call it, and I've just went with Hulkenberg as a instinct, I guess. Let's have a guess. We could be right with this one. Next up would be McLaren, but we already know who is at McLaren. They're signed in officially. Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo. So we have spoken about them and of course the other movers. So go and check that video out, which is last week's F1 debate. I'll leave a link to the video in the description below, and you can kind of check it out and see what we think about that situation. So let's move on to Red Bull, which is a team that don't know whether they're coming or going, do we? In terms of drivers. They signed Gasly, demoted him, replaced him with Albon. Are they going to replace the drivers during the course of the season? Let's find out and see what's going to be the case. But my drivers for Red Bull, I'm gone with Max Verstappen and Alexander Albon.
Oh wow, big change there. No, said no one.
Big change. I can't believe it.
Of course, Max Verstappen already signed at the team till 2023. Signed a big year contract. And Alexander Albon, oh yes, Jordan, he could get demoted, but I don't think it's going to happen though. I really do not think. So he was signed about 3 or 4 races in last year. I think it was around Russia time. Russia time. Do you get that? Old GP2 joke. And he was signed, as I say, about 3-4 races in, kind of at the fact of right, you've just let Gasly go, and then you've put in Albon, a man who, remember, hadn't even driven a Formula 1 car until the winter testing started in Catalonia at Toro Rosso. And then now, about 3 or 4 races in, when again he hasn't really had time to improve on himself, you've then signed him for next year. Also, that kind of confirmed the fact of, right, okay, unfortunately Gasly and unfortunately Kvyat, you're done. You're not coming back to the team, especially not anytime soon. So I think they're a bit more comfortable with Alexander Albon now. So I'm going to say that he's going to be at the team and he's going to be very much safe, unless, of course, as we said there before, other drivers, unless he has a bust 2020 season. Because remember, this is going to throw drivers off as well. This, psychologically, this process is going to throw a lot of drivers psychologically off. It might just be a little bit, but it will be affecting a lot of them, and a little bit more than they or you would like to think. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. And I think Alexander Albon will be very much safe. But obviously, like we just said with the AlphaTauri drivers, it is nice to have them in your back pocket, because again, now the Red Bull Junior program is wearing a little bit thin. There isn't many drivers, as Jordan said there. There isn't many drivers, and actually, I don't think very much of no one. I know Vips, I don't know the other two. So again, it's can they really be playing dice with, all of these like chances like they used to do? For example, when they had, Sebastian and the team, they had a massive junior program, and people like Ricciardo, they were the best of the best because they beat like everyone to the punch. So yes, I think Alexander Albon is safe. Gasly and Kvyat are still in the fight, but their like kind of margins are going down very slowly. And of course, as I say, Max Verstappen, the golden child, is very much safe at the team. That was a strange move because we were all thinking he was going to go somewhere else, but now he's signed. I think that he's going to, well, of course, he's going to stay at the team. And I think Red Bull now, just kind of as a guess now, I think Red Bull is going to be a very, very, very long-term home for Max. It might be like his main team in his full season. But of course, we're not here to talk about that. So I think that it's going to be Max and Albon. Jordan, yeah, what is your reason? Obviously, Max has already signed. Why Albon?
I mean, there's no real reason to change at Red Bull at the moment. Max Verstappen, he signed that big contract towards the end of last year for what was it, like 4 years? Almost nearly ruined the entire 2021 driver switcheroo, but luckily Sebastian Vettel came in and saved the day. Max Verstappen is a well-established driver. We know this. He's got a lot of potential. He's very quick. World Championship material. We know this. We know how good he's going to be. He's the future of Red Bull. Fingers crossed that, for his sake anyway, that Red Bull can provide, and Honda can provide a race-winning engine and a race-winning car. So let's see how Verstappen does for 2021. And I don't think I can't see Red Bull do anything differently until the new regulations coming in 2022. That's when Red Bull will be going, right, this is the perfect opportunity. Another reg change. Let's see if we can replicate what we did all the way back in 2009. Alex Albon, he came in mid-season. I wouldn't say, I've always said this, there was not really that much pressure. There was pressure because obviously he wasn't guaranteed the seat for the following year, but all he had to do was beat Gasly, and that's exactly what he did. He did a very solid job. He's a good driver at the end of the day. I didn't know much about him, I'll be honest, until he signed for Toro Rosso, until I got to know a bit more about him, and then I understood who he was. And he's very quick in the virtual world as well, in case you don't watch that. I think he won he won in Brazil, which was the Dutch edition, I think it would have been, or the weekend of the Dutch Grand Prix. So in the virtual world, he's quick. In the real world, he is quick as well. As quick as Verstappen? No, not yet. But he's not there to be as quick as Verstappen. He's there to get the team, get the points for Red Bull. More than what Gasly did. Gasly didn't do a good job. He got demoted. Albon is in. If Albon does get off to a bad start, I'm hoping Red Bull give him the rest of the season. I really, really do. Albon, he is a good driver, but like I've always said, the points reset at 0 for 2020, whenever the season gets going again. Will he handle the pressure of being a proper Red Bull driver, not a stand-in, let's see how you do to get the drive for next season kind of driver? Can he deliver with Max? Can he be on the pace with Max? Can he get the points? When Verstappen is down, can Albon get them points? Obviously, we'll have to see how he does. But yeah, like I said, no reason to change. But Red Bull, if you are watching this, please keep Albon. I like him. He's a nice lad. And a good streamer as well. He's doing very well. George! I love that. It's so funny. That could be an overused meme in the future, so bear with me on that. I could get sick of it, like I do with many others. So obviously, Ferrari, like I said with McLaren, we know what the driver lineup is. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Again, with that video that I mentioned before in the link below, which takes you to last week's debate show when we discussed is Sainz the right guy for Ferrari, and talking about Vettel leaving and Ricardo going to McLaren and stuff like that, and who we think will get that seat, which now is a bit dubious because we changed our minds essentially, which is funny to see. But yeah, go and check it out if you want to hear our opinions on the Ferrari situation. But again, we don't want to discuss it again 2 weeks running. So let's move on to our final team, which is Mercedes. Now you've probably known all episode essentially who I've gone with and what Lyle's gone with, but we'll tell you anyway in case you don't know. So I've gone with Lewis Hamilton, which is the big shock, huge shock, wow. And George Russell.
Obviously, right. I've gone with Valtteri Bottas, of course. Didn't go to Williams, like John said, and I've also gone with Kimi Räikkönen.
What?
No, obviously, jokes. Like, are you kidding me? Lewis Hamilton, obviously.
Yeah. I mean. So let's start with Lewis Hamilton. There's talk of him potentially leaving the team to go to Ferrari. Well, there was potential to go to Ferrari. There's also rumours that he's going to be going to Aston Martin. No, and a big fat It's not happening. He's staying at Mercedes. He is out of contract at the end of the season. However, there are rumours that he's close, well, he's in advanced stages of signing a new 2-year deal extension with the team. And I think that could be, once he, well, if he beats Schumacher's record, then I think once he does that, he will be out of Formula 1. So this could be the last contract he signs in Formula 1. But hey, I could be wrong with that one. Yeah, Hamilton, quality driver. There's no real reason for him to move it from Mercedes. Yeah, there's nothing much to say about that. George Russell. Now, again, there's the whole like, is he experienced enough? Is he good enough to make that jump from the back to the front? Can he handle it? Well, Ferrari took a gamble on Charles. Red Bull took a gamble on Verstappen, and McLaren took a gamble on Lando, and all three have kind of worked. You know, Charles did very well, Max did very well, and Lando did a pretty solid job. So maybe Mercedes are looking at this going, maybe we should try this. Toto Wolff is adamant. He wants to look to the future. He wants to go, I want George Russell alongside Lewis Hamilton, because like I said before, you know, they're saying, Russell could replace Lewis and partner alongside Bottas. That's an alright lineup. But why would you want to have Russell learn alongside Bottas when he could learn alongside a 7-time world champion, a record-breaking driver? Lewis Hamilton is one of the best drivers of all time, one of the best. Him alongside Russell alongside Hamilton, it's the perfect guy to learn off. It's a dream teammate for a young guy like George Russell. I mean, when he was having that dream of being a Formula 1 driver and Hamilton was dominating the Formula 1 scene, when he was making a single-seater debut all them years ago, did he think that he would be the guy to work alongside Lewis Hamilton? He'll be dreaming of it. He would have been his hero. He could be his teammate, and I think that will be the case. Now, there are talks that Mercedes are trying, that the head board of Mercedes are trying to get Sebastian Vettel alongside Lewis Hamilton, because he's German, a German guy in a German car. Marketing it would make a lot of sense. I just don't think Mercedes would do that, in a sense of employing a guy like Vettel, who's still hungry for race wins and championships, alongside Hamilton, who's going to be breaking records, or wants to break records, and Mercedes will want that and go, he did that in our car. And the sponsors, Hamilton broke a record, and our sponsor and our logo and our company name is on that car, because them records will be shown for years and years and years to come, and archives on season reviews, on anything that will forever be shown, like until potentially someone else breaks them records, which might happen, might not happen, but let's see how it goes. And you know, and I just don't think Vettel will go to Mercedes. It's not going to happen, unfortunately, which is sad. But yeah, Russell, the future, he's a good driver. I believe he will do well at Mercedes. Win the World Championship? I don't know, but who'd have thought Hamilton would have a chance of winning the championship in his first season at a top team? There was doubts over him. Is he too young? Is it too soon? It turns out it wasn't. It was at the right time. Is this the right time for George Russell? Let's see. Let's see how he does. Lyle, you're saying Bottas will stay alongside Lewis Hamilton. Bottas is obviously, we know, the perfect number 2 driver. These two have been teammates since 2017. What's your reasons why behind Bottas staying put at Mercedes? And as well, just a little side note as well before I kind of finish this episode, none of us have said Sebastian Vettel. So I'm thinking, I'll say this now on Vettel. I think he'll retire at the end of the season. Okay. Lyle, do you think he'll retire, or do you think he'll do something else in Formula 1? Because there's apparently talk of him taking a year out and seeing what happens in 2022, maybe come back. Yeah. But for me, judged by his statement, I think it's going to be curtains for Sebastian Vettel. So Lyle, explain your reasons, and of course maybe what you think will happen with Seb next season.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think he'll retire because there's no seat. No one's taking him. I don't think he's going to go to Mercedes, even though I think out of all the rumours, because, Formula 1 always has these ridiculous rumours sometimes, it was making a little bit of sense. I didn't think it was total nonsense. I think that Sebastian might have gone to Mercedes. No, not at all. But the main thing is, right, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, Sebastian, okay, fine. Sebastian Vettel could have been the only driver Mercedes probably would have kicked Bottas out for. George Russell, no, even though I want him to be, he will be in that Mercedes very, very soon. Of course, it will be alongside Hamilton, and it will be all that stuff Jordan said, but it won't be next year. Bottas is a great driver. I love Bottas. He's so good. Last year, 2019, last year was so good for him. Loved it. Completely out of the gate in Australia, straight away. He halted Lewis Hamilton. He could have won the championship in Mexico. He stopped that. He to as much as he could do, he stopped that happening until the USA. You know, he was great. I loved Bottas last year. One of the best drivers of the season. Of course, it went to Carlos Sainz the award, but it was, to me, Valtteri Bottas was amazing, and I love him at Mercedes. I think he's really, really good. A lot of people don't really like him too much, think he's overrated, but mainly it's because he's alongside Lewis Hamilton. But obviously that will never change. Not much to say about that. And of course, the main thing is there's nothing to say about Lewis Hamilton. Lewis, in the prime of his life, going for 7, going for 91. He's not far away now. I think he's 7 wins away. He is on a roll and a half, and he would never be replaced in a million years. Lewis has got a few more seasons on him, I think. My opinion now, I know we're not going to predict it yet, but my opinion is Lewis could probably go till, I'm going to say 2024, possibly 2025, and that's when Lewis is gone. And when I say gone, I mean like Mercedes-esque gone. I don't mean like a Kimi Räikkönen kind of gone. He could be in Formula 1 for a very, very, very long time, like kind of as Michael Schumacher long length time. But obviously we're not here to talk about that. So Lewis, of course, no doubt why he's staying. And Valtteri Bottas, I think he's great. And obviously, as Jordan said there, you know, he's number 2 driver, which isn't a deterrent. It isn't like making fun of drivers saying, oh, you're not good enough, you're number 2. It means you're good enough to support the team. And I love it. I think it was... I love Bottas, and what he does for the team is really good. He gets good, consistent points. Very much like Kimi Räikkönen did at Ferrari. He's always there to support the team, to support Hamilton. He's not... Sometimes he is quite... I think he's a great teammate to have, because he's not at the point of like, I'm a title contender, I can win the title, and I'm battling Lewis Hamilton. Of course, he is battling Lewis in races because he wants to beat him. Of course, every Formula 1 driver does want to do that. But I think Lewis has got a good teammate in Bottas. I think Bottas is what the team need. I think they've got a great relationship, and I think that, I think Bottas will be at the team. And of course, Lewis Hamilton, as I've said there, a no-brainer whatsoever. Anyway, so obviously that is our predictions, guys. Make sure to please leave us your predictions in the comment section below. We're really excited to hear about from you. Who do you think will be returning? Who do you think will be staying? And also, Sebastian Vettel. Where will he be? Will he be in any of those seats? I know that Nico was in a lot of people's for 2020. You know, like he was about to retire, then he's going to change his mind, go, nope, I'm going to come back. So Sebastian, I can imagine him being hot news. So yes, let us know, and of course, let us know all your predictions. It's been a great episode. Thank you very much for watching. If you do like what you see around here, please like and subscribe. We are insanely close to 2,000 subscribers, which is a dream and a half for us. It's been absolutely incredible. It's been an amazing road up to this moment. Obviously, touch wood, we'll get there very, very soon. With your help, hopefully. But as I say, we are so close. We have so much more planned for the season ahead. Sorry about our season. Hopefully, we'll get Formula 1 soon. But nevertheless, our season will be going at full pelt. Coming up, we have F1 YouTubers Decoded, our next episode, which comes out tomorrow for the Monaco Grand Prix, or what should have been, with a great interview with Kai Bacchini, the BBC Radio 5 Live Young Commentator of the Year. A great interview with him, and we have so many more coming up with some great interviewees. We interviewed British Formula 3 driver Ayrton Simmons a few days ago, so please go and check that out. With so much more content, Friday Great, and just us being us. Please check our channel if you haven't already, and we obviously really appreciate your company. And if you do like our episodes, obviously thank you very much for watching this one, and until next time, guys, we'll see you
later, guys.